Hello everyone, how you going? Welcome to Abandoned City with the Power On, Casault, Canada. Now that's certainly not a place that I've ever heard about, but that title alone is enough to just grab me and wonder why.
When you think of the perfect little town to live in, what comes to mind? I think of a picturesque small town surrounded by huge trees and mountains. It also has beautiful blue skies and nicely manicured lawns. I think of small mom and pop stores ran by the citizens of the community where people enjoy helping each other. The town would have a nice library, grocery store, and hospital, as well as other conveniences we've come to rely on. There is such a place, and it's beautiful.
Right.
It's a small town on the northeastern coast of British Columbia, Canada. The name of this almost perfect town is Casault, British Columbia. I say almost perfect because one very important part of this town is missing. The most important part, in fact. The people.
Wait, what? I mean, I guess thinking about it, that is exactly what abandoned means, but then when it also says city with the power on, how does that make sense? I mean, unless the entire grid was automated, which I don't believe any grids are fully automated to the point where you just have no civilization involved, but in saying that, how is a town able to still function as a town and even be kind of called a town and not just a wasteland if no one is living there? I mean, I guess to be fair, thinking about it now, I'm fairly sure that Australia also has the odd abandoned town that used to be mining towns, and so that's the thing, they used to be mining towns and now they're nothing because, well, everyone left. There was no money and there was no reason to stay besides the work that it provided. And look, if it wasn't for that one little cheeky U in the middle of salt, then I'd go, oh, maybe this is a salt mine, maybe it's all those things. But then to be calling a mining town heaven on earth, I'm not too sure how well that's going to go down. And so I can only imagine that these people we're looking at here are tourists, especially the cameras kind of give it away because apparently no one lives there.
Casault, British Columbia is a town with a very unique story.
Yeah.
A sad story that's fading away like the fall leaves that cover the grounds before winter.
Okay.
Casault, British Columbia was founded and built by the U.S. mining conglomerate Phelps Dodge in 1979. The town was built to sustain a mining operation for molybdenum,
There it is.
which is a metal used in steel production.
Right.
At its peak, the town housed over 1,200 residents and had a hospital, a sports center, a theater, and a grocery store with the promise of growth and prosperity.
Yeah, right.
Only 18 months after the town was open, the price of molybdenum crashed and residents were forced to leave.
Wow. Well, I guess at least I wasn't wrong that it certainly was a mining town. I was a little bit off in terms of what they were actually going for, that he said it was actually mining for a steel element, or, well, an element of steel. But no, it certainly does manage to tick a whole bundle of mining town boxes, doesn't it? Like the 1,200 residents are only a very small town. To be fair though, he did say that it had a hospital and so many other services that generally these towns struggle to even just finance, I guess, in the first place. And that is only talking about the bricks and mortar, you know, let alone all the ongoing costs like energy and facilities and equipment and even just paying the staff that work there. To be fair though, I guess he did say that it was completely backed and operated and run by an entire mining conglomeration, and so I can only imagine they have a decent amount of, well, monetarily backing behind them.
Only 18 months after the town was open, the price of molybdenum crashed and residents were forced to leave. Phelps Dodge purchased the homes back from the residents and asked them to leave.
Wow.
Some were forcefully removed from their new homes, and the once booming town was seemingly closed overnight.
Overnight.
Everything was simply abandoned, as it would have been more expensive to sell it off than to just leave it behind.
That's, oh man, that sounds like such a weird situation to be a part of, because they were asked, I can only imagine, to come and join this tiny town and they have all these facilities set up, and then overnight, like you said, you're just forcibly removed again. You're going, hang on a second, I just moved my entire life and family and everything over here. I've got nothing to go back to. What am I doing? Like, well, you can't just keep chopping and changing me around. But I guess they had no choice because the entire town went up for sale, or not even for sale because they couldn't be bothered. Like you said, it wasn't even worth that much money. Wow, but looking at that, they are certainly no small organization, are they? 15,000 employees in 2006, and it started in 1834. My goodness, that is a seriously long time to be accumulating all sorts of things as a company. But actually, hang on a second, they also have a parent organization, which is what, bigger than them, of course. Mining company Freeport McMoran, sure, never heard of it, is another American mining company with a revenue of 23 billion. So I reckon they're doing all right. Just look at all of these houses, you know, they're not massively expensive constructions, but there's still so many.
The books were even left on the shelves of the library.
Wow.
As you can see, everything was left as is.
Wow, when was that?
Everything was in perfect order, but they're just missing the people. After the last person left the town, it was completely vacant. However, somebody left the power on. The power has been on for nearly 30 years, and the town sits, very well preserved, waiting for its residents to return.
Hydro? What? That's so random. How and what is powering this entire town? And why as well, like I said. Look at it. Everything is just pristine still. It's not as though it's been overgrown. You know, generally people, when they think of abandoned, it's just going to be falling apart, basically ancient ruins. But look at this, you know, for all intents and purposes, it is absolutely pristine. Yes, there is a bit of a layer of dust, but that is absolutely unavoidable. There is no way the dust doesn't get everywhere. Also insane that I can only imagine that if you opened any of these buildings, houses, rooms, whatever you want to call them, they're definitely going to be a little bit musty because I haven't been opened in a very long time. But overall, I find it incredible that the power is just maintained on for all this time. I mean, now I'm wondering, do the heating systems still work? I mean, maybe the clocks have been messed with if the power system ever did fail, but honestly, who knows? I mean, to be fair, I would love to know what brand of light bulb they are, because those light bulbs have been on for however long, or maybe they turned them on just for this video. Either way, they're still working after all these years.
Due to the lack of funds, people were only able to pack up their personal belongings.
Yeah.
Everything else was left behind.
What?
Mailboxes were left vacant and empty. I wonder what building this was taken in. It's so weird seeing a perfectly preserved building sitting there, empty. You have to follow a long dirt road to enter the town, which still stands in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, right.
Everything is covered in late 1970s decor, and the names of the champions are still written in chalk on a board in the sports center.
Of course.
The town's backdrop is one anyone would be envious of. The place is stunning.
Look at that.
Kitsalt has 94 homes, 200 apartments, a hospital, a shopping mall, a movie theater, a town and country restaurant, and a sports center.
Stones.
All of the homes were left completely vacant. With the homes and structures being only 3 years old at the time of vacancy, they're all still in very good condition to this day.
Yeah. Going there would just be an absolute time warp. Like you said, just going back to the 70s, all these houses and everything else just plastered in the 70s decor. I mean, some of the seats and things look very kind of modern in some regard, but then he was also talking about a blackboard. And so I just wanted to zoom out to see exactly where this is. I mean, they did say British Columbia, and I wasn't sure how far north, but look at this. You really can see that is one isolated little town just in the middle of these mountains. Look at it. I can only imagine that might have been the mine, or at least part of it, a Venti Kitsalt project. Whatever it is, you can definitely see that this entire town is very isolated from the rest of the world. And so, like I said, you would have had to move your entire family over there for a maximum like 18 months to 2 years. And then all of a sudden you just get relocated again.
There must be quite an eerie feeling walking down the streets of Kitsalt.
It's a carpet?
But I would love to live in a place like this.
Carpet?
Photographer Chad Graham is the only one in the town on this photo shoot.
Yeah, wow. God, just place to yourself. It'd be amazing in that
An empty playground outside the school was once full of little children having a great time.
Yeah.
Not even a year after this plaque was made, the town was closed. The electricity still lights the town up at night. Everything in Kitsalt was purchased brand new, and it just sits deteriorating now.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine 1,200 people just up and leaving after only 3 years?
Honestly, it just blows me away that this was the most financially viable thing for them to do, you know, just leave it all, just build all the facilities, hospitals, schools, everything, and then just go, oh, I guess we don't need it anymore. No worries, just pack up and leave, please, so we don't have to actually maintain this entire place. That is insane. And like he was saying, all of this stuff is just going to sit there deteriorating forever, you know, no one had the means to take it, and I guess it didn't really belong to them anyway. But looking at these sizes, it is honestly like something out of a movie, like everyone just disappeared, like they got Thanos snapped, but the entire population, and I guess to be honest, in a way, they kind of did. Everyone was there one day and then gone the next.
Even at the end of a dock in the bay sits a lonely boat, tied up, waiting for its
A
driver.
police boat? That looked like a police
The old
boat.
refining plant that sparked the construction of this town sits empty and unproductive. Over 200 apartments without residents.
Wow. Look at that. I mean, honestly, they actually look pretty darn cool. There's a bit of, obviously, the 70s wooden flair, and obviously they had to also use what they had available because you don't want to be trucking just all of your materials in, but my goodness, just to be leaving all of that behind, like it's actually a fairly funky building.
Even the town center, which provided phenomenal views of the surrounding landscape, looks as if it's ready to move in and start a party.
It's all just timber construction.
The bridge to
Beautiful
Kitsalt once had hundreds of cars a day crossing, and now it's a
Really?
rare sight to see that bridge in use.
Wow, hundreds of cars a day. Going weird. Isn't that why you're there, so you don't have to leave? Or the trolleys. Oh man, even the cash registers, look at that. Just made out of that one color, that creamy beigey, that off-white, that everything from that time period is made of. And honestly, there's no screens, there's nothing like that, there's no computers. It's 1983. Nothing's too fancy in this town. That's probably why it still works, or the power still runs.
Kitsalt went up for sale in 2004 and was purchased for $5 million.
Wow.
Canadian entrepreneur and businessman Christian Suthantheran purchased the town sight unseen. He had just found an article in the newspaper and sent a check.
You know you're loaded when you just buy a town for 5 million. You don't go to it. You never even heard of it before. You go, oh yeah, I don't mind that. Just saw it in the newspaper, and then you just send a check in the mail or something like, oh yeah, okay, I guess I just buy the entire town. No purpose for it. No just future use for it. No. I just want to have it because I can, because I've got 5 million to splash. That's crazy. I mean, I guess to be fair though, there are plenty more ways that are way worse to be spending $5 million, and so I can only imagine he was looking at preserving it to some degree. It is obviously still standing, so it hasn't been overly developed or anything like that. I mean, I don't even know if that would be on the cards. Can you even develop an ex-mine, or is there so many other things that come into it, like it has historical presence and it also is an ex-mine, like I said, or maybe it's in the middle of an entire national park. There's so many other factors. Either way, we can still see that these buildings are apparently standing and honestly surprisingly well kept. No leaks, no mold, no nothing.
He had hopes of turning the town into a sort of retreat for intellectuals, scientists, and doctors to work together.
Wow, that's actually really cool.
The town was open in 2011, but things have since changed.
Yeah, just a bit.
There are talks about opening a natural gas plant in Kitsault, but that would require an investment of $30 billion to get off the ground.
Oh, yeah, and the rest.
The plan is still open, as investors are sought after this large venture.
And the door's just open.
The housing and infrastructure are already in place, and something needs to happen to breathe life back into this beautiful town. It is tragic that this beautiful little place on Earth was left abandoned, but at least there are talks of revamping this little town, with so much character and such a beautiful landscape. It would sure be a shame to leave it all alone to rot. Looking at the photographs and understanding the memories of this town, it's hard not to hope that this wasted land gets put to good use.
Well, look, when he was first talking about the plans to maybe make it a place of science and all those kind of things, I can absolutely get behind that. But when all of a sudden they start talking about, okay, it needs $30 billion to turn it into a natural gas plant, and you see the kind of sites and the greenery and everything else that is around, like really? You want to try and put a natural gas plant in the middle of that? That is such a devastating impact that would have, that honestly you would never get it back. And honestly, just similarly to so many other places that humans have just left derelict and abandoned, let's just take Chernobyl for instance, you know, all the animals just start moving back in and using the facilities as they wish, and that's completely fine. It's free game, who cares? But you want to just get rid of all of that and just put a natural gas plant there for $30 billion, you know? $30 billion that want to be redirected somewhere else, but no, you want to put a gas plant in the middle of nowhere. Like then the gas piping or the shipping that needs to occur, it's just not even worthwhile, surely. And so honestly, considering this entire town, this museum of a town, has zero upkeep cost, you know, after 40 years, their lights are still on, for goodness sake, I'm just surprised that the entire government or whoever might be controlling that kind of thing hasn't just jumped on board to make it a historical site and just get tourists going in there. As like I said before watching this video, I had no idea about it, I had no connection to it, I have no idea where it is, but honestly, look at the spot. I'll go there in a heartbeat if you just want to take me there for a reason. And so look, even though it would become more of an ex-abandoned town than an abandoned town if all of a sudden you just had thousands of tourists pouring in every day, week, year, whatever it may be, at the same time, I feel as though just sharing the history of this place is better than just turning it into a natural gas plant. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to the YouTube algorithm things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine that you are watching, then make sure to go check out another ones I've done. Also, make sure to go check out the original video down in the description below. Or hey, maybe you even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.